Evening, Cherries fans, and welcome to this latest special interview here on Up the Cherries in all departments. Before I do welcome on my special guest, here's a little bit about our sponsors, Dental on the Banks. To find out what they can do for you, visit dentalonthebanks.co.uk. Now, today I do have somebody who is conducting this interview with me, and I will bring him in very shortly. But it's that famous Dorset picker, Chris Rawlings. But our subject and our player that we're interviewing today is a former AFC Bournemouth, West Ham, Torquay, and Barry Town player. It is a pleasure to welcome on to Up the Cherries in all departments, Paul Mitchell. Evening, Paul. How are you?
Yeah, all good, Craig. And you?
Yeah, very well. And thank you for joining us on this special interview. So, Paul, Bournemouth born. Do tell us a little bit about your younger days and how you fell in love with the beautiful game.
From as young as I can remember, I was always playing football down the field. I was brought up in Oakdale, St George's Field. I was always down there with the ball. I don't know if you knew it, I'd probably a bit before your time, but they had the old Unigate Dairy down there, and they had the biggest wall ever. And it was just hours and hours on my own or with mates down there, just kicking a ball, really. And then, yeah, just like everyone, you end up playing with your like Sunday league team. Yeah, my team was a team called Broad Park, who didn't last very long. They only had a few age groups, but we were a very successful team. Yeah, and we used to play against Jamie Redknapp. So he was a year younger, but always used to play a year above. And next thing I know, obviously Harry's always watching Jamie. And then Harry said, "Look, you're coming over to Bournemouth," kind of like that. When I was, must have been about 7 or 8, and he always kept his eye on me. Always knew he always spoke to my parents and everything. And yeah, it just went from there. Always playing Sunday league, and then I used to play a year up with my brother's team as well. So sometimes I was playing 2 games on a Saturday, 2 games on a Sunday, which looking back now probably didn't do me the world of good. But when you're that young, you just want to play football. Yeah, so that was that. And then probably around about the age of 12, 13, that's when Harry Redknapp put me forward for the Lilleshall trials. So like the FAGM National School. Went through about 4 or 5 trials of that, and then obviously got into that. So that's 16 lads of that age group who go away and represent England. You board in at Lilleshall, go to a normal school, and represent England. So I was there for 2 years, and at the end of that, came back and signed apprenticeship forms with Bournemouth.
Wow,
so that's the very early days.
Wow. Who did you support as a kid, Paul, if you don't mind me asking?
Yeah, I was always a Man United fan. There is a reason behind that. My dad used to go up and watch them every now and again, not all the time. So yeah, I was brought up, Brian Robson, Remy Moses, that sort of era kind of thing, watching them. Again, they weren't successful then either. So I jumping on the glory train.
Fair enough.
So you mentioned there, Harry brought you into the School of Excellence. You were training with the first team at 14 or 15.
Yeah, somewhere around there.
What experience did that bring to such a young and inspirational player?
at the time, it's really weird. You just see it as fun. You know, that's all football was for me. It was just the enjoyment. You know, there was no mega money in there like it is now, because obviously, you know, to me, they all have different agendas now, and, you know, and it's all about fame and fortune. We just love playing football. So, you know, even down to after training, you know, the cleaning of the stands, you know, polishing of the boots, everything was done with a smile. And, you know, we actually really loved it. So that's kind of my first early memory of, you know, doing that. And to be fair, you know, just mixing with proper professionals, it was unreal, really, when you look back at it.
And you did play with some big names. You made your debut at 17 years old. And the talented players we had at the time were John Williams, Efford Akuku, Matty Holmes, Luther Blizzett, to name a few. At such a young age, who did you look up to in that first team?
Probably more towards the older heads. I mean, just a tiny little before that, Sean O'Driscoll was there, you know, and, you know, what a model professional he was. But then you also had great players like Mark Newsom and players like that, who, as much as they had talent, Sean O'Driscoll's professionalism, you know, I'm not knocking news for anyone like that, but, you know, he was fit as a fiddle. I don't think he drank, you know, and you got to remember that going back of these years, it was a drinking culture. It was, you know, play your match and then enjoy yourself, you know, which at the time there was nothing wrong in that. But, you know, when you see what the players are like now, they're, you know, they're thoroughbreds, they're athletes, aren't they? So, Sean O'Driscoll always stood out for me. I've got to give a mention to my youth team coach then at the time. Do you remember Keith Williams?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, Keith Williams, yeah.
Yeah. So I still see Keith every now and again. He's top bloke. But yeah, he was my youth team manager. So he's the one who started it at the School of Excellence, but he was also in the first team, because in them days, obviously, they had more than one job, some of the players. It's not like now. But yeah, he used to take the training for the School of Excellence, which was 1 day a week. And then, it started off with the youth team, which was then taken over by Terry Shanahan.
And in the squad, you were close to Keith Rowland and Neil Masters. Do you have any classic stories of what you three got up to? And is there anything that Harry didn't find out about?
Not so much me, because the other lads you just mentioned there, they all lived in the digs over at Boscombe. But obviously, me being a local lad, I stayed at home. So I wasn't, you know, as much as they were my mates and teammates, they had a different sort of bond, because they all lived in the same house. So, but yeah, no, not really. We was quite good lads. So nothing springs to mind, put it that way, at the moment. If anything comes to me, I'll let you know later.
Yeah, no problem. Harry might be watching this, so, you know, by all means, you know, we was hoping for a big reveal there, but
actually, I'll give you one.
Go on.
Because obviously, them days they'd announce the squad on a Friday, and, you know, be it sub or 14th, 15th man, because that's how it went. I wasn't in it that day. So a few of my mates back home in Paul going out, local pub, Jolly Miller. So I went out. I've got to admit, I did have a couple of drinks, not too many. And then overnight, a couple of lads had gone down ill or whatever. So yeah, he's come in. He goes, "Mitch, you're on the bench today," and I'm like, "Oh, okay then." You know, and I'm like I say, because there was a lot of Bournemouth fans locally in as well, and yeah. So they would have seen me out on Friday night, and then on the bench on Saturday. You know, in my head, I'm thinking, what must they be thinking? How unprofessional was that? But like I say, I didn't know at the time. But that's one not very nice one.
After your debut, you did have a few problems with your knee, with some injuries. When did those problems start?
Looking back now, I had quite a bad break in my right leg, my tib and fib, when I was at Lillyshaw. So yeah, that wasn't the best. I had brilliant rehab. I got back, but you're never the same kind of thing. The break that I had, it was a tibia and fibula, and I dislodged a growth plate. So if they don't line that up exactly, you know, you have got the risk of your leg not growing properly. So I had that op. Come home, had a checkup after 2 weeks, and it all moved. So I had to go back in again, have it rebroken, and then come back out. And I was in plaster from my hip to my toe, you know, the real heavy one in those days. And I think that was for about 2 or 3 months in the end. But yeah, I did get back from it. But after then, you kind of compensate. Your running kind of gait changes a little bit. And I was just forever. It was like going around in a circle. It's like left knee, right groin, left groin. You're just kind of going like that. And that was kind of the start of the downfall, really. And then in those days, the worst thing was the arthroscopy had just really come out. So whereas now you go in, you have an MRI scan, they find out exactly what's wrong. Do you need an op? Do you need this? In them days, it was the MRIs were so expensive, it was cheaper to get a surgeon to go in and open your knee up.
Really?
And obviously, once they've done that, that's when you got your arthritis, other little problems, and it is never the same. So, I mean, to date, I think I'm on op number 18 for my knees and groins.
Wow.
And I can have a knee replacement on both legs whenever I want through the surgeon.
Wow.
So, yeah, not the best. So I think I actually managed to do okay to carry on playing until I was 30. Really,
I didn't realise about the like length of like the MRI, and then they just cut you open all the time in those days.
Yeah, it was straight in with the keyhole, and I say once they've opened up the knee joint with any sort of instruments, it's the risk of arthritis. Well, it's straight away basically.
Yeah. Bloody hell. Yeah,
and even then, after that, I mean, you could be back playing within 3 weeks from arthroscopy. Some days people have played within a week.
Really?
And and the damage that they must have done to themselves.
Yeah.
So there must be a whole era of players who had all that done.
Yeah, and I suppose some people don't feel it until they're older, do they? And then they're done.
Exactly.
Yeah. God, blimey.
Yeah.
Bloody hell.
Well, if you saw me walk now and the bowing of one of my legs, you would think I was probably a jockey rather than a footballer.
Really?
Yeah. Oh, it's terrible.
Yeah. Bloody hell.
My kids do nothing but rip the you-know-what out of me for it.
Oh, shit. God.
Paul, who was the best player, would you say, that you played with at Bournemouth?
That is a good one. There's obviously Luther Bliss. It was class. There's no doubt about that. But for me, Ian Bishop. I mean that the quality he had, and obviously I was lucky enough to meet up with him again at West Ham. But everything about Bish. I mean, he was such a funny lad as well. I mean that, and he could drink. I think we all know that. Yeah, but he was a class player. Yeah, he had a bit of everything. He could tackle. Great on the ball, yeah. So I say he's one of them who's really up there. And then you also got the local legend Mozzie as well. What a great left back he was.
Yeah. My dad always raves about Paul Morrell and Ian Bishop because they're both a bit before my time, really. But my dad always raves about those two.
Yeah, if you did see them play, you would understand that. And I think also Mark Newsom was I think he was underrated a bit, Mark Noose.
Yeah.
He had a good physique on him, good build, which in those days kind of mattered quite a lot, really, in the leagues Bournemouth were playing in.
Yeah.
Because we were a League One, League Two team then, weren't we? So it's all very physical stuff. And the old Dean Court pitch was just like sand, wasn't it? It was.
Yeah, definitely.
Ian Bishop actually still does play on those drinking antics with 5 points in, which is
that
actually
surprise me.
But no, very good podcast. If you ever get the chance to watch it, it's really, really interesting. Paul, do you have any memories of Nimbus, also known as Ken Sullivan, who was very active?
Quality. No, 100%. Nim, what a character. He was. He done a bit of everything, but Terry Shanahan, I mentioned before, we had when we used to go to games, Nim would drive one of the buses, and words can't describe what he was like as a character. He was just one of the funniest men you'll ever want to meet, but could be also very serious. And if you ever, he was always there, and he'd always kind of look after you. Again, he would have been a major part in some of the boys' lives who lived at the digs. Because obviously, I went home, I had my parents and things like that supporting me. The lads in the digs didn't always have that, and he was just always there. And he was a lovely, lovely man.
And what was it like to represent your country at youth level? Do tell us a little bit more about that whole story.
Yeah. What can you say? It's probably just one of the best feelings ever. I know you've probably heard it before. The first time you pull on that shirt or go to a tournament, you hear the national anthem. And even at that age, at 14, 15, 16, it's just quality, really. And I say, being at Liddyshire, I was very fortunate there. They set your values, your morals were always good. We was told how to behave, kind of thing. Because, like I say, we go to a normal school, we'd come back, train. The day you had PE at school, you would then go to Liddyshire again and train, and you'd probably have 2 or 3 tours a year where you go away and represent England. So we had trips to places. We went to Israel, Czechoslovakia, Sweden, and then other than that, you'd always get the other countries coming over to play us. So I think in my two years at Liddyshire, I think I got a dozen caps. I did get into the England schoolboys as well, which is it's a different setup, but that's when I did break my leg and obviously got into the squad and never actually played. So that was a bit of a downer. Yeah. But cracking feeling. And even in them days, we managed to keep the shirts, and then after the 2 years, they send you your caps. So I've kind of got them framed at home in a presentation box kind of thing. So they're always there. The kids later, my lad can't believe it sometimes when he looks, he goes, "Oh no, you got a cap," and like that. But it's just great.
Wow.
Is there any particular players that do stand out that you played with or against at the youth levels?
Yeah. Well, my year group at Liddyshire, I had Andy Cole was there. Wow. He went on to do okay. Do you remember Ian Walker as well, the Tottenham goalkeeper?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was there. And then my roommate, and actually I still speak to him every now and again, who actually played up the road at Southampton later on in his career, was a lad called Simon Charlton.
Oh, yeah.
He started off at Huddersfield, had spells at Bolton as well, and Norwich, I think, as well as Southampton.
Was he a right back? Right back?
Left back.
Left back, yeah.
Yeah, Charles was left back and I was kind of right back. So, yeah, in the room together. So, yeah, he's a nice lad.
Oh.
But I love it because I still speak to him, and I say that Bolton team that he was playing at was when the likes of JJ Okocha and things like that. Yeah. And you're like, when you look at it and talk to him about names he's played with, yeah, he's got a few more than me. But then also, I remember once my dad was clearing out the loft, and my mum told him to get all his paperwork in order and all things like that. And the last thing, he was up there for hours, and all he was doing was going through all programs. So we got all Bournemouth programs, England programs. And he went through a couple, and in the France team there was some player, Zidane. I think he done okay as well. Wow.
So Paul, you did play against Zinedine.
You don't really. Pardon?
You did play against Zinedine Zidane.
Yeah. So I think it was probably under 16 or something like that. And Dugarry as well was in that team.
Wow.
But like I say, I didn't know at the time, and it's only years back when we had the program, was just flicking through it. And we're like, oh, cool. All right, then. I'll have that one.
With the England players, like Andy Cole and Ian Walker, could you tell that they were going to be, stars at that point, or was it still...
Ian Walker as a keeper was head and shoulders above anything that I've seen. So, yeah. Andy Cole was a strange one. He was quite a quiet lad, kept himself to himself, could be quite arrogant, which, you often in quite a lot of football that you do need that to get where you need to get. But he could always finish, Coley. It wasn't a 9 out of 10 finishes. He was more of a 4 out of 10, 5 out of 10. But some of the finishes he would do, and obviously as he's got older, he's got better. So, yeah, he had stuff. You could see there was something that was going to come, and like I say, I think he knuckled down later on. And like I say, I think his medals and everything speaks for itself, really, isn't it?
Yeah. When Harry left the club, you did seem to be frozen out at the squad a bit when Tony Pulis took over. What can you tell us about that period? Did you get on with Tony, or was it a case that
Tony's Tony. We had a slight disagreement. Again, I was very young. I think he was young in what he was doing as well. He was just starting off, so I probably could have done things better, and I probably think, I have spoke to Tony since, and I do get on with him, and maybe he might look back and say maybe at the start of his career he could have done things different. So yeah, there's no bad blood, but Tony, like I say, Tony was Tony, and he did have a few fallings out, didn't he? Which were public and people know about it. So, but yeah, it's a strange one. It's a strange one because obviously all I wanted to do was play in the team. We had a tour to Africa in that summer, and to be fair, I did say I was going to sign a contract, only verbally. Come back, played all the games over in Africa. And then I think in a pre-season game, he didn't play me. I didn't play in the next one. So I had people I knew who were after me. So I just said, Tony, if you're not willing to, start me in these games, you're not going to play me, are you? I'm going to look to go away. And that's when it kind of went on. You said you was going to sign. I said, well, yeah, well, I thought you said you were going to play me. So it's just like that. Mm. So, and then obviously that's when West Ham, and I could have actually gone to Palace as well. So they were the two teams I was looking at, really. Yeah. But then it was a no-brainer with Harry. So
yeah, link back up.
Yeah. And at that time there was quite a few of us, weren't there? There was obviously there was Keith going as well. Matty Holmes, like you've already mentioned, was there. Bish was there. Jerry Payton. So there's quite a few lads that I already knew, which always helped.
Yeah, the earlier mid-90s, there was a lot going on back and forth with Bournemouth and West Ham, wasn't there?
Yeah, both ways, wasn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, because we did have them in a pre-season friendly, because obviously when I went, Billy Bonds was still the manager.
Oh yeah,
but they had. Do you remember the winger Stuart Slater?
Yeah,
he went to Celtic.
Just
before your time again. But yeah, he was the left wing. I played right back. And to be fair, when you've had a good game, you come off happy.
Yeah.
And so I don't know if that stuck in Billy's mind as well, but he obviously saw something that he did like.
Yeah. Fair enough.
And of course, West Ham, Harry took over shortly afterwards as well. They had quite a strong squad at the time, and what was it like signing for them and playing in the West Ham team?
It's just unreal. To go from little old Bournemouth to a team with thousands of fans, I'm not saying Bournemouth haven't got many, but it's just a different league. Even out around town, you see lads with, wearing, this is going back, we were talking about 1993, 95, and it's something like that when I went. And, to see all the team shirts, tracksuits, they'd even the lads would have West Ham rings and the girls would have West Ham necklaces on. It's just unreal. And even just the setup to go to a training ground, Bournemouth used to go over on the old train track pitch and things like that. And, used to borrow any park we could. Where there, you go in, you got the West Ham gates as you go through, you got a car park attendant, you've got a little gym, everything. It was a whole new world, really, basically. And also to have your kit that you didn't have to take home and wash. So you just go into the dressing room more than that. So, yeah.
Back in those days at Bournemouth, was it a case that there was a bit of a round robin like there is, in non-league sides where you would have to wash the entire team?
Exactly.
Was it? Yeah,
some of the first team players had their own kit, I would say, but not all of them. And especially a youngster coming through now, you just scrape whatever you could off the floor to borrow the next day, or it was. But then at that stage, you didn't know any different, so it was still brilliant, if that makes sense. It didn't bother you. Probably bothered my mum at the time, washing all the kit every day, but that's about all.
Do you think it would be a good idea, though, because now players are looked after left, right and centre. They don't have to do anything. But it's probably a good bit of discipline for a player growing up, isn't it?
Oh, 100%. Yeah. And if you talk to any pro from early years, they would say the same. It's, to clean someone's boots. It's not hard, is it? God, come on. So why not? And then you kind of actually get that bond with the pros as well. And there's nothing wrong with cleaning the changing rooms. I mean, example, Mark Noble, everyone knows about him, still doing it to the day he retired.
Yeah.
So, there's in my eyes, nothing at all wrong. Yeah, it's a tough world now in banter and the way you kind of ask and get people to do things. You just got to tread so carefully. Yeah, I don't know. It's a strange old world nowadays, isn't it? What you can and can't do and say.
Yeah, definitely.
Of course, Harry is a legend at AFC Bournemouth, and has been a legend at West Ham. What was he like as a manager? Because the Harry we see nowadays is, very relaxed. Will do anything for anybody. But could he lose his temper? And
Oh yes, oh yes. Yeah, don't get.
Go on, give us some examples.
But he also is still the nicest man, and he was that as a manager as well. I like I say, going back a few years, like I say, when I had got an England squad, all he used to do every time he used to see me or whatever, the first thing he always says, "How's your mum? How's your dad?" That just sums him up, and I'm sure that's the Harry you kind of see and know. And we had a match over in Ireland, and he bumped into my dad, and he goes, "Oh, Pete, are you going over?" And we want the richest family, and he just said, "Oh no, I've got work, I can't get over." Anyway, next thing I know, my mum and dad have got some flights. Harry's bought the flights all through the club or whatever, give him the tickets, go, "You're going over to watch your lad play." That's just one of the things. That's what he was like. So next thing the game's there, and I've got my parents there, and all thanks to Harry and for Bournemouth. But that all solely done by him. So that's what Harry is like.
He can lose his temper if need be.
Oh yeah, do you want one of those as well?
Yeah, go for it. Yeah, we will.
No, I only remember this one because it was involving me. To be fair, at the time he actually liked me. So we had I won't swear, but I'll kind of make out word you need me to say, all right? If that makes sense. So we had a game at Exeter. It's pre-season. I think I was 16, so still relatively young to travel with the first team. They took a full squad there, so I wasn't even actually changed. I just had my tracksuit on. I think at half time, we were well. Anyway, the game just wasn't going very well. He's gone crazy at half time. Went out for the second half. It got better for about 5 minutes, and then the standard just went. And I can't remember if we drew or lost or one by one, whatever it was. Harry was fuming when we got in, and his arms were going everywhere, and everyone was taking a slating. And I've walked past, starting picking up the kit, and he's pointed at me in front of everyone. And he's gone, "And you can't even get in the team." And I was like, "Whoa!" And all I was doing was being a kid, picking up the kit, and he gave me one as well. So I was like, "Oh God!" So, yeah, that was Harry though. And of course, then that all broke the ice, and everything was funny again with the lads. But yeah, he had a way of bringing things round. So he'd have a go, but it always came back to kind of nice Harry, I think personally.
Yeah, he's a lovely man, and he's a credit to football, credit to both West Ham and Bournemouth as well.
Oh God, yeah.
And he will do anything for anybody. What can you tell us about your Premier League appearance against Blackburn?
Yeah, quite short. I think it was about I'm not sure. I kind of probably exaggerated this over the years, but I don't know if it was like 6 or 8 minutes or something like that. But it was crazy. I went on in midfield, and I'm trying to think who they had Shearer playing. I don't know if Batty was there then. I can't remember. But yeah, I can remember having a few touches, tried to put a few long ball through. It's weird how things kind of really stick in your head. And yeah, it was just unbelievable, really. And the fans, that's a strange one because I didn't even hear them really. They weren't cheering me on it, but the stadium noise itself, it was a weird because you're so focused on the game, You'd think you'd hear it all ring in your ears and all that. No, it was just, so it was just a surreal feeling. Because the week before that, I was actually sub at Oldham and didn't get on. So, and I being sat on the bench, everything was there. And, I was taking it in kind of thing. But the minute I ran on that pitch, and it's a crazy, like I say, 6 to 8 minutes, come off. I had scratches all down my shin from a challenge, which I couldn't even remember. And, you just sat there. It's surreal, really. And obviously in those days, the shirts were like the size of tents. I don't know if you remember this as well.
Yeah,
but, and I sat there like I looked like a little child because his kit was huge on me. That's it really.
Was that the league? That was the season they won the league, wasn't it?
Yeah, so I did have a hand in the title that year because we did lose.
So. Who would you say is the best player that you played with during your time at West Ham?
Do you know what? When you look back, I mean, for example, you've got players like Clive Allen. So when you're doing a shooting drill and you're seeing the way he's just tapping side foot the balls in the corner, no effort at all. And that wasn't at the peak of his career. So you got players like him. I mentioned the older ones first because we also had Elvin Martin. I mean, what a defender he was. Again, just someone always in the right place, quality on the ball. If he was around and playing now, I'd hate to think what kind of figure they'd put on his head. Well, both of them really, for the amount of goals for Clive and a defender like, Elvin. Yeah. But they had all sorts of talent in different ways. Like I say, I mentioned Bish already. John Moncur had quality. And then you also had the start of the foreigners coming across. Who's the big Mark Reaper? Great, good centre half as well.
Oh yeah,
Reeps was there. You had Slaven Bilic.
Oh yeah, he was going
to be a player. And to be fair, I could just name the whole squad. It's one of those. You are on a different level when you're talking Premiership players. Julian Dix. What an underrated player he was.
Was Steve Jones there at the same time as you?
Who, sorry?
Steve Jones.
Jonah, yeah. He was just breaking in as well.
Yeah.
So, fair.
Was he at Bournemouth at the same time as you when you came back as well?
I'm trying to think because I came back on deadline day, didn't I? I think he might have been. I'm not sure. I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah, because you were both. Because I remember when you came back because I started supporting Bournemouth in the first Great Escape season.
Right. Yeah.
I was like about 8 or something then, and
cheers, that one, Craig. Yeah, nice one.
and Steve Jones had obviously he was on loan, I think, in the Great Escape season from West Ham, and he went back, I think, the season after, but I think he came back to Bournemouth for that season, I think. Yeah, and that was the season you came back as well, wasn't it?
Yeah, so that was the end of the free season, 95, about 97, 98, was that around?
96, yeah. I think.
Yeah, so possibly, yeah.
So you might have both been at Bournemouth at the same time, maybe.
Yeah. But Jonah was raw, wasn't he? I mean,
yeah, he was. Yeah.
He had some great finishes, but then he could quite easily miss one from a couple of yards, couldn't he?
Yeah, definitely.
But that was Jonah.
Yeah, score a worldie and then miss from 2 yards.
Yeah. Oh, definitely.
How did your time at West Ham come to an end, Paul?
Yeah, well, like I said, that I was playing and doing quite well. I was at that stage. I was captain of the Resis at West Ham because they had 2 teams as well. So we played in the Capital League, and I can't remember what the other one was called, but yeah. So I got the taste for playing. Playing in proper football, what kind of thing. So in and around the first team, and I just wanted games. I wanted to kind of move out, and I wasn't comfortable just playing reserve football. I wanted to get the taste of first team football. Bournemouth coming for me, unknown to me at that time. I don't think Mel Machin ever had any real intention of signing me, which was a little bit annoying, because if he had said that first, I knew I could have had another year at West Ham as well. Which I was told afterwards, which is quite annoying. But yeah, so yeah, I wasn't too pleased with Mel regarding that because I came back, I thought I'd done okay as well. So yeah, then I'm left in limbo. I said, what did I want to do? And I still want to play. So at that time, then Torquay got interested, and I went down. I spoke to Kevin Hodges and Gary Nelson. They seemed really keen. I played a pre-season game with them. In fact, it was against West Ham, believe it or not. So yeah, again, done okay. And then I signed a 3-year contract at Torquay. So then obviously moved on down the south coast of it.
And from the initial stages at Torquay, what did you think? How was it?
Again, it was doing the reverse step, go into the place with no training ground, a little bit of kit, the normal thing, So, but again, I've been there before, so it wasn't a huge, well, it wasn't a shock, put it that way, but I definitely preferred the kind of West Ham side of things, the little bit of luxury, the lunch in the kitchen and things like that. So,
and of course, you did score at Dean Court for Torquay. That was in the old League Cup.
Yeah, wasn't it? Yeah.
So tell us a bit more about that day. Was it difficult to celebrate?
It was a weird one because if I remember right, in that game we were battered as well, and I think we had one chance and we went up and scored, kind of thing. And yeah, it was because that was the first time I'd ever been back. And then I'm pretty sure, was that on the flipped pitch as well? They had moved the ground then, had they?
Yeah, they moved the pitch.
I don't think it was on. Yeah. So yeah, I don't really remember much about it. It's just the fact that we beat them, which I thought, have that, Mel. So, not that I was bitter or anything, but yeah. But then I think we even managed to because it's 2-legged in then, wasn't it? I think we drew at our place, so we actually went through.
Yeah.
So.
Do you get on with Mel now or not so much?
Never really spoke to Mel.
Haven't you?
No, not even when I was there, believe it or not. I just found him a strange character. We had I can't remember if it is. I think it might have been Burnley or Scunthorpe away. They're playing similar kits, don't they? And I can't remember which one it was. Anyway, I got brought off at half time, and I was struggling to run a bit, and I didn't kind of know why. But at half time afterwards, I kind of pulled my sock down, and I had like I would say probably about 3-inch gash going down my shin. And so as he was going out, because obviously Willow was the assistant then, wasn't he, John Williams?
Yeah.
Who I knew very well. And I said, Willow, can I go and get that stitched up? And of course, he went, oh, bloody, yeah, of course, yeah, kind of like that. So he must have told Mel. So I got all that sorted. And then on the coach on the way back, Mel called me down. And I say, we're sat in the coach like that. I've kind of sat in the chair opposite him in the gangway, and he was trying to speak to me. I'm sat there, and he's speaking to me looking that way. So he didn't even look at me. He goes, Mitch, reserve game tomorrow, report at this time. I said, Mel, have you seen my leg? He went, yeah. I said, well, I've got 6 or 8 stitches there, Mel. Yeah, report for the game tomorrow. This is all without looking at me. And I'm kind of going, you look like it. So I pulled Willow at the end, and he goes, Mitch, just yeah, I think you said don't turn up, basically. But I turned up. I and said, look, I can't go and play. So I did go and say, but yeah, I just found him a strange sort of person.
Yeah,
he couldn't speak to me eye to eye. So when I look back there, yeah, that's probably why. I don't know.
Probably a bad choice coming back to Bournemouth, really.
Possibly, yeah. I mean, I did get a handful of games, which was good, just to get that feeling back. And so, but ultimately, sometimes it is never good going back, is it? You just don't know.
Yeah, true.
But the fact that my parents were here, my home was still here, then, I was always going to.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
I guess it made that League Cup game that little bit sweeter just to get that over on Mel.
Yeah, when you look back, yeah.
Should have pulled your sock down and sort of like waved your leg at him as you scored.
Yeah. Don't.
Eventually, you left Torquay and you went to Barry Town, so a team in the Welsh League.
Yeah.
Of course.
Well,
Completely
how did that
different.
come about?
Yeah.
Well, one of my teammates at Torquay, Lee Barrow, he had already moved down there. By this time, I was really struggling, my groins and my knees. And I knew the end wasn't far away kind of thing. I couldn't probably do or perform as well as I would like to. I was struggling with injuries. I wasn't in and out of the Torquay first team. I was mainly in and out. But the then Barry Town manager, who was Gary Barnett, came and watched me in a game for Torquay, and said he wanted me to go there. And at the time, believe it or not, Barry Town were paying more than what Torquay United were. Wow. They had a cracking sponsorship with Tango, where we used to go into the schools and do things like that. And the owners were the O'Halloran family, who had done very well in the steel business. And they were putting quite a lot of money into it. And then when you look at the squad that we had at Barry Town, virtually every player was an ex-league player. So, they were starting to do something, because their whole season was geared up to winning the Welsh League to go and hopefully go on and do well in the Champions League, because they get their Champions League place.
Yeah, cool.
So, I decided to go there, and it was actually, I left the year that Torquay got to Wembley. So I missed out on that one again, but there you go. But now I found myself down in Wales, living in Barry Island. At a cracking time. Like I just mentioned, I knew my time was kind of soon to be there. So I just made the most of it, enjoyed every moment. I think over the first year there, we won the league and cup double. The second year, we won the league, the cup, and the FA Welsh Cup, which was screened live on TV. That year that we won the Welsh FA Cup, we actually beat Swansea, Cardiff, and Wrexham, all their first teams, through to get to the final. So we did have a hell of a team, like Danny Carter, Gareth Lloyd, some really good players. And we done really well. And then obviously qualified for Europe. Was unfortunate one year we drew Dynamo Kiev home and away.
Yeah.
So that was Luzhny, Rebrov, Shevchenko. They didn't have a bad team, because they were playing in the qualifiers, because they had payment irregularities or something. So.
Oh.
And then one of the other years, it was a team Valletta of Malta.
Oh yeah.
I think we eventually went out 2-1 an aggregate, but it was, I think 9 of that team played against England, against Malta. When Malta went 1-0 up in the first, was it minute or so?
Oh,
yeah.
This is going back quite a bit. Yeah. So that was that Valletta team. So some good experience. Yeah. But Barry Town was, they were probably, as a setup and equipment, training ground, training facilities and all that, probably better than what Torquay were as well.
Wow.
So I enjoyed my time there as well.
And of course, your career today, you do quite a lot in football statistics. How did you get involved in that?
Yeah, well, basically, I bumped into, actually, he's an old Bournemouth player, Southampton player, Tony Funnell, lives locally.
Oh, yeah.
We all know Tony. Yeah, and he told me what he does. And I think at the time, he was kind of trying to cover Southampton and Bournemouth, because you had to be an ex-pro to be able to do it then, because it was all through the Football Association, through the FA.
Yeah.
And then it was a company called PA News who were doing it. And he said, "Oh, Mitch, do you fancy coming to watch me do this? If you like it, I think they'll take you on." So I went and watched him do a game. And at the early days, it was actually, you were doing a live commentary, but going off their shirt numbers and pitch positions. And I'm like, look at him going, Christ, am I ever going to do this? Anyway, finished the game. He spoke to the people. He goes, "Oh, right, you're doing next week. You're Bournemouth's one now." And I'm like, "Oh, right. Cheers, Tone." He was just straight into it. So, yeah, that was probably, 18 years ago now. Wow. So thoroughly enjoy it as well. It's changed a little bit since. It then went to Opta, who was Stats Perform. They've dropped the FA out of it now, so they have nothing to do with it. And to be fair, when Opta took over, they tried to get a load of students involved. So a load of the old ex-pros who were doing it, because they dropped the money as well, didn't want to know. I mean, I just thoroughly enjoyed doing it. It didn't, if I didn't get paid for it, I'd still go and do it. I love it. And I think out of the initial, 90 odd clubs, I think there was only about 25 original ones of us who are now still doing it. So the rest of them are students and things like that. But then it has got huge, and the numbers have like quadrupled because they're now doing like women's football, the under 23s, and all things like that. So every level of the Premier League and that is all being covered now. But lucky enough, all I do is the actual first team, which is quite nice. Yeah. Sat there with a little monitor in front of me, and a hot cup of coffee, a bit of food at lunchtime, down at half time. Yeah, it's a nice little setup.
Yeah.
Do tell us a little bit more about what it involves.
Yeah.
Because of course, statistics, you see how much possession, you see exactly how many goals, of course, and how many shots on target. But is there a little bit more to it than that?
Yeah, my part now, well, my role's changed, and it's for the better. Like I say, I used to have to, when I first started, I had to kind of log every shot, corner, free kick, foul, booking, things like that. And then I used to have to rate the players at half-time and full-time for both teams, while we were watching the game and doing that. So, I don't know how I ever done that, because you can't rate both teams, accurately and things like that. But yeah, that's what it was like. And then it moved on. The higher you went up, then the live feed started coming in. So basically, where I'm at Bournemouth now, I'm still logging everything myself, like yellow card. These are the main kind of stats now. So it's corners, yellow cards, and obviously goals. They're your main three. So all this info goes to betting shops as well, or if you're watching the game on your phone. Yeah. So cool. The stats that come down on the say BBC Sport or something like that. That's what we're kind of there for. The guys, the other end, who I'm talking to, they've got the computer monitor in front of them, and so one will have the home team, one will have the away, and they're actually logging every pass as well, every challenge, every aerial, every tackle. So basically, they're the ones doing the real work. I'm there in case the camera goes down, and then I'll take over, kind of thing, or just to confirm. And then now we're back in the Prem. I also have to go tunnel side, so after the game I'll go down and ask the ref for the ref's report. And I have to obviously take a picture of that so they can confirm all the bookings and things like that. Because anything they get wrong, they do actually get fined for it. They're allowed so many mistakes. It's all, because it's worth a lot of money. So yeah, that's it. It kind of, briefly. So it's amazing what technology they come out with now. It's just. And that's just that side of it. Then you've also got the sports science technology, which Bournemouth are using themselves with the trackers and things like that. So,
what else have you been up to, Paul, since you've hung up your boots?
Yeah. When I first left, I did play locally for a little bit, but Salisbury, Wimborne, because my aim was always to kind of play with some of my mates that I grew up with when I come back home.
Yeah.
But obviously, unfortunately, my legs didn't really help with that one. So I played a little briefly, but it was never going to last. So that was that. When I first came back, I worked at Lush Cosmetics. Oh, yeah. I was there for 8 years. So I had a management role there. I ran Dispatch. So that was a good time. It's kind of like a team environment there, believe it or not. Lush is quite quirky. So that went really well. And then I did leave there and I went back into football again. I was doing, I was working for a charity called SC Foundation, which was set up and run by ex-pros. So have you heard of Sporting Wishes, a charity?
Yeah.
So it's kind of similar to that. So we would run sponsored events at schools. Yeah. And then also the money they raised went back into the schools, the children. And, you would take a young child to say Wembley to be a mascot and things like that. So we'd have these prizes donated in, and that's what it was all about. I ended up doing that. That was 3 years, and that was probably the most rewarding 3 years of my life. I went into some special schools, saw some unbelievable kids who, haven't had the best of lives, but it's crazy how much a football and an inflatable goal with a radar can make them smile. Yeah. So, but then some days, I come home, I see my kids, and you're like, Christ, how lucky are you? And then towards the end, I was getting home and I couldn't even get out of the car because my legs wouldn't work. So, yeah, I had to stop that, because even then, I'm there trying to boot this ball into this radar, and where I was doing it so good, I got quite good at it, so I could literally say to the kids, give me a speed between 20 and 60, and I could usually get within 1 mile an hour of it. And that was even with my left leg at the end, and I never had that when I was playing. So it's only because my right one was hurting so much. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. But it did come to the time when I had to knock that on the head. And then, like I say, for the last 5 or 6 years, I've actually got a little cleaning company, A Pro Clean, and I look after arena business centres. So we got one in Ferndown and one in Poole. So it's quite local. And yeah, I kind of see that as my workout now. So I get up about 4 o'clock in the morning, going to work, or going late at night. It gives me days to myself, which as an ex-footballer, you're quite handy, because that's all you're used to.
And final question, Paul. Is there anything that you regret not doing during your career, or any moves, of course, coming back and playing under Mel Machin might have been one of those, but anything that you regret not doing during your career?
No, I think I'm a believer in what is kind of thing. So yeah, you've got to go with the flow, haven't you? And like I say, people, I get asked a lot, do you regret your injuries, or do you wish you was playing now? And yeah, like I mentioned before, the money would be great and all that, but I had such a cracking time. I lived like every boy's dream, really. I was, one of the 16 best players in the country at my age for a couple of years, been all over the world. So yeah, no regrets there. The only thing I wish, or would have made a difference to me, would have been being a player now with the professionalism and the knowledge they have in sports science, nutrition. We drank. I wouldn't touch a drop now. Why would you want to, when everything is there for you and things like that? So that side of it, I just wish, and maybe my career wouldn't have been as short as it was, or I struggled, all the way through. I can honestly say I don't think I ever played a game where my body felt okay, if that makes sense. I always had twinges, niggles, where now, if there was something wrong, they would know exactly what it is, and exactly what you have to do to get back. The rehab side of it is 100 times better. Your strength and conditioning, what these guys are going through. They're like racehorses now, aren't they? They're just peak fitness, and and the lifestyle that we led then. I'm just thinking, how good could some of these players have been with all this behind them? So yeah, it's not a regret, but that is something that I sometimes think that would have been superb to have that side, running along with your talent or whatever you had.
Yeah, I just have a couple of questions to add, if that's all right, about Bournemouth currently, if that's all right.
Yeah.
Cool. How do you think Bournemouth will get on this season?
Yeah, to be fair, I think they'll be okay. So okay, they will compete, which is all we can ask.
Yeah.
He's strengthening. He's getting depth in the squad. The Premiership now, you can't go by with a team of 11 and 5 good reserves. You need maybe 2 or 3 good teams, don't you? You need, for that Premier League, you need at least 2 or 3 players in every position.
Yeah.
So he seems to be going the right way about it. In my eyes, they're looking to strengthen in the right places. I've got to admit, I love what Scotty done. Yeah. I was also a big Eddie fan. I do know Eddie, and I'm chuffed that he's doing well now. But yeah, he kind of set the ball rolling, and it's that kind of blueprint that we need, isn't it? It's keep that going. Yeah. And do you know what? We're in the Premiership again. If we do go down, we have 100 million in the bank. it's not the end of the world. We are Bournemouth. You know,
Exactly.
that's it. And let's say, like you guys who have supported Bournemouth, you know what it's like. So let's still enjoy it. You know, it's hard when you're not winning games, and we will lose more than we're going to win. We know that, but like yourself, what the true fans can see the bigger picture. Yeah. If we do get another year out, another 2 years, unbelievable. If we don't, let's go to the Championship. Let's get that team. Let's stay in the Championship and look to go up again. You know, how many teams would like to be in our position?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely. And following on from that, since you've been doing your Opta stats, what's the best? What squad do you think's been the best? What year do you think's been our best squad?
Oh, that's a controversial question, that, isn't it? That is. Do you know what? That Championship winning season and squad, and the games, innit? The way everything happened, was it Bolton at home? To me, that went on. And for that team then, because it was relatively the same team, to stay in the Premiership with that squad of players, I think that feat in itself has got to have it up there. Yeah. But then, like I say, on the other side, I was a kid and I travelled up to Fulham. Yeah. On the day, I mean, what a squad that was, to do that then, so completely.
Was that 86?
Yeah.
So my dad always says that team was the best team.
Yeah. You can see why, but then Bournemouth weren't used to that. We had never had that. So and they had some Tony Seeley. They had some players. Yeah. But for me, it's that Championship and first Premier League team squad. Fair enough. For players who had never been at that level. Yeah. To go and stay in that, So in my eyes, that's the one. And it's more of a squad than individuals, I think. The way they work for each other.
I would agree with that. And who do you think is the best Bournemouth player the best Bournemouth player you think you've ever seen? If you had to pick one.
Oh my God. It's pretty obvious in a way, because probably he might have been one of the best players that we had at the time. So Luther Blissett, I mean, the name's got to be up there. His name helps, not just the performances. I mean, it was Luther Blissett, for God's sake. And he used to let me drive his car when we went to some games. So it's always Luther.
Fair enough.
But over the time that, I mean, you look back. I mean, your names were probably a lot different than mine. I mean, I remember Colin Clark when he came. I mean, that bloke could score goals for fun. So he done well. Other players have left Bournemouth and gone on and done well, haven't they? Like Wade Elliott and things like that. How well did Brett Pittman do for us? What about James Hayter? These are all different kind of. And then that's without even going into the modern Premier age, like Steve Cook and Tommy Elphick or whatever. So there's different players for different reasons, isn't there?
Yeah, I agree with that, because I don't even necessarily think there'd even be a club if people like Brett Pittman hadn't have scored their goals, because we would have gone down that season of the Great Escape, the second Great Escape,
Yeah, 100%.
Scored all those goals, and we wouldn't have gone up the first time, from League Two if he hadn't have scored those goals either.
Yeah, no. So, and look at that group of players. When you look back, Purchase, Fletcher, what have they done for the club? It's just
they're all legends, aren't they?
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, true.
From knowing Eddie a little bit earlier, I know I said it was going to be the last question, but knowing Eddie from a little bit earlier, did you have the idea that he was going to be such a good manager?
Do you know what? No. He was, because Eddie was so quiet. He's got this really humorous side of him, which not everyone sees. He's a really funny bloke. But at that time when I knew him, then went away and then come back, I didn't know. Obviously, he'd done all his badges and everything. And then when I first came back into the scene and doing the stats, that's when he was doing the youth team at Bournemouth, wasn't he?
Yeah.
So and then he was kind of running the academy, and then doing this, doing that. There's one side, he's virtually out of a job with Bournemouth, wasn't he? So it's kind of, they kind of got him back in, and then that's when he took over. He had the call. Was it Christmas Eve or something like that one year, wasn't it?
Yeah, New Year's Day.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. But obviously, very clever man. You know, I think every player seems to like him. He goes about it in the right way. I don't think you'll ever hear him say the wrong thing.
No.
You know, which nowadays, again, like we said, I mean, I could listen to him all day in his interviews. He's just so positive as well, isn't he? He's like, everything about him just kind of says modern day manager. So, yeah, really pleased for him.
And I was actually watching a very brief interview with Eddie, and he was saying that, you know, after he left Bournemouth the second time, so after we'd just been relegated from the Premier League, he just went and developed himself.
Yeah.
And is that what he was all about?
Yeah. Well, like I say, he's one manager who's definitely learned from his experience. You know, he's gone away, he's taken a lot of time off. Yeah, and like I say, from what I've heard, he went abroad again, you know, started watching other managers. I mean, he's a sponge, isn't he? He kind of seems to take a bit from everyone. And he seems to pick the right thing, doesn't he? So, yeah, you can't knock the man, really. I mean, that's a huge job that he went up there to do, isn't it? And obviously, so far, you've got to say it's been a success. And I actually look forward to seeing what he can do next year with who he gets in and everything. But, yeah, he's a clever man. He's very focused. And, yeah, it seems to be going the right way for him. Because he was gutted to leave Bournemouth. There's no doubt about it. And half of the reason it was in Bournemouth's best interest, I think. So that's kind of what he's like, isn't it?
Yeah.
Have you got any closing comments, Chris?
No, it's been really good to talk to you. You know, it's been really, really interesting. You know.
Thank you. Anytime.
Cheers.
Thank you for coming on, Paul. It's been really, really interesting, and keep up the great work that you're doing for the club and for yourself. And, you know, thank you so much for sharing your story.
Lovely. No, really enjoyed it. Thanks, guys.
All right. Thanks so much.
Thanks.
Cheers, Paul.
See you later.
And thank you, everybody, for joining us on this special interview. Please do remember to hit the like, the subscribe, and the bell button below to be alerted to any new videos we do here on the channel. Please do check out Cherry Picking, our podcast. We are now 2 shows in. Do have a look at our worst Bournemouth 11 and also find out what we think about the kits. Also, do watch our previous interviews. We've had Efan Akuku, Steve Fletcher, Steve Cook, of course, Harry Redknapp, as alluded to. We've also had Luther Blizzard as well on the show quite some time ago. So please do check those out. Also, do check out our recent shows. We've had Catherine Berry on. We've also had Kieran Maguire, who did The Price of Football. We've also had John, who is a Newcastle fan, talking about West Ham. We've had Maisie, who's talking about Manchester United. Chris, who was talking about Leicester, and lots more. So do remember to hit that like and the subscribe button below. Also, we have got some exceptionally special shows coming up soon. So make sure you know about it first. Until the next video, from me and Chris, up the cherries, and we'll see you in the next one.